Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War is going to go down as one of the most interesting COD games in a long while, and not just because of its daft name. The title is something of an experiment from Activision, only being announced in August of this year and having its post-release seasons being merged with both Warzone and last year's Modern Warfare. Whether that pays off in the long run is yet to be seen, but for right now, there's a whole load of fun to be had with Treyarch's sequel. However, as a consequence of discarding some of the changes made in Modern Warfare in favour of a classical Call of Duty approach, both long-time and new players have a lot to learn and relearn to dominate the MP. I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com, and this is Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, 10 tips and tricks the game doesn't tell you. Number 10, you have so many anti-air options. So, real talk for a second. Nothing puts me off a match of Call of Duty more than being bombarded by kill streaks. You might be doing terrible anyway, which for the most part I usually am, and getting hit by a chopper gunner, predator missile, or a sentry gun before you can even think is dreadful, and can leave you feeling totally powerless. That is negative thinking though, as you actually have so many anti-air and anti-killstreak options available to use in Cold War. You don't even need a launcher for the most part, because in this game, vehicles might as well be made out of a fine paste, as even machine gun fire can do pretty significant damage. It might take you out the infantry action for a second, but you'll net yourself some points in the process. Also, fans on Reddit have already found out that fire arrows work surprisingly well against vehicles, and will wreck choppers and spy planes if you have them available, and you're a good enough shot to hit them. Number 9. FOV can help offset those terrible iron sights. One of the biggest new options being brought over to console for the first time as far as Call of Duty is concerned is the introduction of the FOV slider. While this has been a staple of PC gaming for ages, it shouldn't be overlooked by console players, especially as it offsets one of the biggest issues in the MP currently. First, the FOV slider essentially changes how much of the player space is in view, hence being called the field of view. Now, this does somewhat impact performance, but it's worth having a mess around with to see if you can get comfortable with a different range of viewing positions. This becomes especially important in this game because the sights in Cold War can be incredibly bulky and restrictive. Even basic red dot sights can obscure the action, while iron sights are some of the most obstructive in recent COD history. Changing the FOV on these can give you a bit more visibility when you need it the most. Number 8, shoot down care packages. The grind in Cold War is a bit more extended compared to previous CODs, and that means a lot of people are going to be stuck with the same starting equipment. You can bet that a lot of people will be using the default care package, which, by the way, and this might just be me, but does this kill streak feel way more laborious than in previous titles? Like, I swear it takes so long to get something in. Anyway, in Cold War, the mystery prize will be carried in by a chopper that shows up on the map before plopping its package on your smoke. Like I said though, it takes a while for this to arrive, and there's nothing stopping you, say, destroying one on the way to be delivered to an enemy. Hell, if you're lucky, you might just stop a chopper gunner being called in and getting pummeled in the process. Number 7, stun everything. Stun and flash grenades have always been an essential part of COD's multiplayer, and look, I know you're probably there thinking, Josh, this is basic AF, but trust me, they've never been more viable than they are in Cold War. Especially with the starting perk equip that allows you to throw grenades while sprinting, pre-cooking these tacticals is now easier than ever. And there's absolutely no reason you shouldn't be throwing them in every dangerous room before entering guns blazing. Stuns are even more helpful than just stunning players though, because now you actually get an indicator of just how many enemies have been caught by your blast. In previous CODs, you know you've hit someone with a tactical when a hit marker flies on screen, but now that hit marker is accompanied by a score, which is given for every enemy you hit. Consequently, not only are stuns essential for taking out enemies as effectively as possible, they're now a great recon tool to know exactly how many dudes are in that room that you're rushing. Number 6, extra mags and quicker reloading. One of the things that may throw off your COD muscle memory right away in Cold War is the increased time to kill. While seemingly not as long as Black Ops 4, it's definitely longer than Modern Warfare, and it can take some getting used to if you've internalized pulling your finger off the trigger after a certain amount of shots. Because of this though, there is a good chance that you'll find yourself in a position where you're facing down 2 enemies and you simply don't have enough ammo for both. With rapid fire rates and lengthy reload times, giving yourself that extra breathing room can be vital. Consequently, if you can spare the attachment, invest in either bigger mags or faster reloads for your main weapons. These come with their own disadvantages, but I've died more reloading in Cold War than any COD in recent memory, and it sucks. Number 5, STIM shots, and field upgrades. The days of running unpunished down the mid lane of a map and specializing in a run and gun style to rise to the top appears to be gone, with Call of Duty having transformed into something resembling a tactical FPS of late. And although you can still play any way you want, you would be doing yourself a disservice if you didn't at least look at the tactical equipment you could use to take advantage of the less informed players. Equipping the STIM shot in your tactical equipment slot, for example, is a great way to win gunfights, especially considering that time to kill has been increased dramatically. Sadly, this isn't included in your loadout by default like in Black Ops 4, but a sudden burst of health will not only keep you alive for much longer, but also take your opponent by surprise. Just keep in mind that the enemy might also be thinking the exact same thing. Another great piece of tactical equipment is the field mic, which is by far the most useful field upgrade in the game right now. Having a recharge time of just over 3 minutes, it allows you to deploy a miniature ground UAV, which highlights enemies in its vicinity on your minimap. Considering that nobody seems to be running its counter perk Ninja, it's a must in modes like Domination. Number 4, try your hand at pre-firing. Now, I know pre-firing sounds like the kind of thing that you'll be shouting at the tryhard sweats for doing rather than wanting to adopt yourself, but it is simple and effective, and hey, there's no extra points in an honourable kill anywhere. After playing for a respectable amount of time and experiencing the ins and outs of the various multiplayer maps, you'll find yourself learning where the different choke points of each map are. Now, before making yourself known at the selected choke point, start out by slowly pre-aiming and strafing into sight. Since you've saved yourself some time, your enemies will be on the back foot and likely lose to you if you end up hitting your shots. Then, when comfortable with pre-aiming, take the next step and start firing before you actually strafe into sight. And finally, if you want to truly master the skill of pre-firing, make sure you've kitted yourself out with an enemy painting tactical tool like the UAV or field mic. By seeing where your enemies are on the minimap, you'll be accused of hacking in no time, which is a badge of honor received by only the best players. Number 3. Understand the new SCORESTREAK system. In an attempt to reward both objective play and traditional kills, Treyarch have developed a SCORESTREAK system which appears to be based on the support strike package from both Modern Warfare 3 and Ghosts. Since your score won't be resetting on your death anymore, you'll find that score streaks cost a bit more than you used to. Like the older systems though, you'll still be rewarded for staying alive, with every successive kill per life earning you more points than the last. Points can also be earned from completing objectives, but there is no multiplier attached to doing so in the same life. You should also keep in mind that each score streak comes with its own individual cooldown, so you can forget about calling in back-to-back attack helicopters. Consecutive kills without dying are often the best path to victory here. However, there are other ways to boost these numbers, including the Assassin perk, which nets you a bonus for killing a special enemy flagged on the minimap. Number 2, proximity mines carry over after death. Now this is a quick one, but it is essential, as one of the starting field equipment items is a proximity mine. Now you might be inclined to switch this out as soon as you can and not really use it, but it can actually be incredibly useful when utilized correctly. That's because unlike other equipment, the proximity mine doesn't vanish when you die. Instead, it will persist and can net you a kill from beyond the grave. Especially on objective modes like Domination, planting one near an entrance can help you retain that stronghold for a little bit longer, or at the very worst, get you a posthumous sense of satisfaction. Number 1, effective bunny hopping. If you've jumped into Cold War recently, you'll have probably noticed there's a new hotness in town. That's right, the drop shot is out of fashion, and it's bunny hopping that's in now, baby. Now, if you're used to going prone every single time you see an enemy like me, it's going to take a lot to unlearn that muscle memory, and even get used to the new method of getting the drop on players. Thankfully for you, in Cold War, there are options to swap the button layout on consoles to make this a bit easier. If you change the button layout to a variation of the bumper jumper, you'll have way more control over your jump aiming. This swaps the jump to the left bumper, allowing you to keep control of that aiming stick while you're in the air. Now this, of course, comes with its own drawbacks as it puts the tactical equipment on X or A. But if you're sick of people jumping around corners and want to beat them at their own game, then it's definitely worth testing out. This option has been in Call of Duty for a while, but it's never been as viable as it is now. So that's our list. Want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Have you been playing Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War? And are there any tips and tricks that I missed off here? Let us know. While you're down there, could you give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to WhatCulture.com for more lists and news like this every single day. Even if you don't though, I've been Josh, thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.